Hello, I'm the Angry Spork. When there's something strange in the neighborhood, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! But which one? That's right, the world based off the iconic 80s comedy classic meets its own equally iconic animated spin-off. Oh, what ribaldry awaits us as I begin taking issue with Ghostbusters Get Real. Let's begin with issue number 1 and see if these comics make us want to turn the page or turn our heads. The covers all have the same idea of two versions of a single character standing back to back on top a shadow of the Ghost logo, while Slimer goes through Pac-Man space apparently. Except here, IDW Peter is going to try convincing the Real Ghostbusters to have Cartoon Peter's voice changed, so he sounds less like Garfield the Cat and more like Dave Coulier. Written by Eric Burnham, with art by Dan Shanning and Luis Antonio Delgado, we get an intro page of the key players. One description for both versions in most cases, then the logo ghost mentioning how some sinister force on the level of Gozer from the first movie has caused ghost activity to increase massively, keeping the Real Ghostbusters busier than usual. We formally begin with a ghost named Natasha stopping a familiar face on the street, Claudia, blaming her for her demise and ready to make her pay. The old woman pleads what happened was an accident and she's stopped practicing ever since the incident. Honest, I haven't touched a fiddle in years. If I had one now, I promise I would sound terrible. Before any revenge is taken, Natasha is thankfully trapped by the Ghostbusters. They just happen to be passing by, and as such were obligated to assist, without charging for the capture, despite Peter wanting to write up a bill. Claudia offers to repay them if she ever can, as they take off, no closer to determining the cause of this increase in ghosts, though they do seem to be particularly concentrated in Midtown. Their next stop is Gracie Mansion. It's being haunted by a Class 9 free-roaming vapor. Janine double-checked to make sure this free-roaming vapor is not another chili dog eating contest. The Atlas statue at Rockefeller Plaza comes to life and hurls its orb at Ecto-1, causing the guys to veer off and hit a lamppost. What the blazes was that? I think the more important question is, who threw it? Let's ask the giant statue that's heading right for us. He holds it up all the time. Maybe he has some ideas. Claudia hears about this latest supernatural battle on the news, and while it was sooner than she expected, figures this is the time to repay her rescuers. She had sworn off spell casting, but keeping her promise is more important, settling on a ward of protection as a compromise. However, just as the statue zaps the busters, they disappear. The next thing Claudia knows, she's visited by our antagonist, Proteus, a primordial god, lowercase g, who had intended to send the four to a specific nexus, but now can't find them. The old woman is happy to have helped some genuine heroes, but for her interference, Proteus turns her into a bird, leaving her alone with her pet cat. If she had watched more Tweety Bird cartoons, she'd be prepared for this situation. They reappear outside their headquarters, Venkman brushing it off as convenient that the ghost who wrecked their ride also warped them home. The inside looks more drab than usual, but they don't think much of it as they head upstairs, past Miss Melnitz, who is too busy to notice them, or be noticed. But the upper floor is all rearranged, out of place, and Peter suspects Slimer. Peter, you can't blame everything on Slimer. Watch me. He's the one who acts the Batgirl movie, and I'll die on that hill. Ray thinks he's found their little buddy in the observation tank, and Egon tries to say that this ghost's readings don't match those of their sidekick, but it's too late to stop this more malevolent Slimer from being released. After Ray is attacked, they do the old zap and trap, and quickly thereafter are met by their IDW counterparts, the ones native to this universe. It kinda looks like industrial espionage.
Hello, lawsuit.
Moving forward, I'm going to use the first names of the characters for the cartoon versions and the last names for the movie-leaning IDW team. For example, now Zetamore here knows what he would look like if he had a forehead. In his lair, Proteus uses a crystal ball to order a demon, I guess, to locate the Ghostbusters. Now. But the creature only has one set of eyes, and there are a lot of places they could be, so Proteus smashes the crystal. This is why he can't have nice evil things. He then gets an idea. using a shard from the broken orb to carve a figure into the wall, while verbally calling out for the goddess of fate and necessity, Ananke. After a flash of light in front of him, she appears behind him. I guess she likes surprising people, or because it's uncharacteristic of Proteus to make requests. As he changes forms, for some reason, he wants to know the Ghostbusters' location, hating them because they're mortals with the power to capture demons and gods, and he'll see the natural order restored. That and Proteus really doesn't like being captured, so wants to grab them first. He lost one round of Red Rover as a kid, and he let it give him a complex. Ananke says his fate is now linked to that of the Ghostbusters. Despite his short-sightedness, she tells him that they're in New York, one of the infinite versions of the city. The only other thing she adds before disappearing is that if Proteus continues his quest, he'll need luck on his side. Back at the firehouse, our real heroes are informed that they're in an alternate dimension, something their counterparts have some experience with, both with the Ninja Turtles and having been stuck in a limbo for a while. It wasn't what you might think, though. Bars getting lower and lower, having to bend backward beyond your means, and the calypso music stops being catchy real quick. While Winston doesn't like the idea of multiple-choice universes, the Rays find this an amazing learning opportunity, while the Spanglers, of course, suggest a series of tests. As for how to get them back home, they all head down to the basement, to the extra-dimensional jump gate the aforementioned turtles helped them build. With the right biometric information, it ought to be able to send them back, and Ray is like a kid in a candy store by the side of it. "I'd love to build one of our own! How about it, guys? Can we?" "Only after you finish your vegetables, taken out the trash, and brushed your teeth, young man." Melnitz chimes in. Apparently Toon Egon looks like someone she knows named Roger, and after taking a snarky remark from Peter the wrong way, she says they have a job in the Bronx, and they ought to take care of it, even if they do have their second alternate universe visitors in a year.
Working stinks.
Issue 2, the cover featuring the Rays, picks up at the Bronx Zoo, where a ghost is sneaking up on a gorilla, but is stopped by the Extreme Ghostbusters, Roland, Garrett, Kylie, and Eduardo, college students under the mentorship of their professor, Egon. They debuted in a short-lived animated series that acted as a sequel to the Real Ghostbusters, set years after the original team had disbanded. It's kind of similar to Ghostbusters Afterlife, just without the family drama. And maybe not so many tongue-in-cheek Easter eggs? I don't remember, it's been a while since I've watched it. Garrett hastily fired at the ghost before it consumed the ape with that belly mouth, but to very little avail as it starts flying away. It seemed to look scared of something, likely whatever is causing Kylie's PKE meter to go bonkers. A portal opens and Proteus towers before them, unaffected by their proton beams, even grabbing Garrett's and pulling him from his wheelchair for a closer inspection. This isn't the dimension he's looking for, so it drops the young man and disappears, deciding he needs a better plan. "Get back here, you coward!" "Shut up, Garrett. Didn't you see how he laughed off your particle stream? We got off lucky." "Yeah, a fall like that could have broken your legs." Ooh, that was the wrong thing to say, wasn't it? We return to the fire station, where this world's Kylie has joined the group in all the alternate reality weirdness, and reminding Ray to carry the two. Winston and Peter are being tested to determine their dimensional frequency so that the doorway can be programmed to take them home, while Pete tries to compare strange experiences with Spangler. After the tests are done, the data will need some going over, some double checks made, and after that, the real team should be good to go. At this reality zoo, Ray and Venkman are on the job Janine sent them on, when one of them hears a tinkling. "I'm pretty sure everyone went before we left." "What? Not like that. The sound. It's like glitter for the ears." "Terrible for the environment and impossible to get off your hands?" They see what looks like a fairy, influencing the animals to dance around like this was a Disney musical number. Unfortunately, Ray falls under her trance as well, compelled to get closer to her, even when her mouth opens Predator style.
Mother puss bucket.
Geez, you missed one episode of The Bachelorette and suddenly nothing makes sense. Venkman snags the pugnacious pixie, but Ray is still walking closer to her in a proton stream. Good thing he called for backup earlier, as Zetamore tackles Ginger Ray, while blonde Egon traps the fairy. And did that also trap some of the animals, too? What the expletive? I thought that only pulled in ghosts and ghouls. I mean, the goose, they can probably claim just flew away, but they're going to have a harder time explaining what happened to the monkey, the ram, and the giraffe. Egon thinks there was something familiar about the fairy and wants to take a closer look back at the firehouse. Meanwhile, Proteus constructs a 3-headed demon hound to track his targets for him, ordering it to alert him once they've been found and sending it through a portal. On a 2-page spread, the beast sniffs around a landscape with pools looking into different versions of the Ghostbusters. Some very similar to the IDW crew, but in different art styles, a couple of video game worlds, even Filmation's Ghostbusters cartoon with the gorilla that was based on an old TV show of the same name. In fact, the ape at the beginning of the issue was even based on that primate co-star named Tracy. There are a lot more references on this spread and a larger issue, enough to make this video significantly longer, so feel free to consult a Ghostbusters wiki when you're done watching this. At headquarters, where Ray is wearing a duplicate of Peter's jumpsuit for some reason, Egon concludes what he suspected. This fairy ghost is from their world, postulating that with all the psychokinetic matter they put into their containment unit, especially with their recent infestation, it could have created a small, internal dimensional nexus. Venkman remarks they should send their doubles a bill for flushing their ghost onto their turf, and Peter meets him snark with snark, saying that what they have is some guaranteed work, so maybe the real crew should get a commission. Yeah, Egon, if I punch this guy, will I break the universe?
No.
You might, however, kill the mood for the two anthropomorphic macrocosms whose heavy making out is what's making your crossover possible. So by that logic, it might actually send them back. Winston and Zeddemore separate their co-workers before any hands get thrown, with Venkman not seeing the irony of being annoyed with someone just like him. Stans is having a look-see at Ray's brainwaves. Let me ask, does it feel like you have a ball of steel wool stuck in the middle of your brain? Oh, I put that there. I was challenged to test if brainwashing was possible, and I misunderstood the context. The readings look strikingly similar to times Stans himself has been influenced by a godlike entity, leading the two to conclude that a primordial god was recently in their reality, causing the increase in paranormal incidents. Such lesser ghosts would not only be caught up in the psychokinetic wake of this being, but also have taken in a piece of the god deep in their ghostly fibers. Knowing the enormity of the force they're up against narrows it down, at the very least. Spangler has finished his calculations to reach a stable frequency that'll send the real team back, but Zeddemore suggests they hang around a little while, so all 8 of them can work together to get a better picture of their opponent. He's also hoping the cartoon variants will be more open to joining his improv comedy troupe. Everyone in his own dimension already said no, even Evil Slimer. Stans is excited to learn more about interdimensional physics, because of course, and the real Ghostbusters agree to the assist. Winston, however, doesn't want this break to take too long, since they're needed back in their own New York, and the issue ends on the 3-headed dog continuing to sniff out its master's prey. How close is this bloodhound to finding our heroes? What can they do against a being that has already shrugged off weaponry very similar to their own? Which Peter Venkman would win in a fist fight? Tune in next week for the conclusion. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.